Dad, I've been thinking about something from my English class today. We learned about different words for animals, and I got confused when we talked about sheep and goats. There are so many words like sheep, lamb, mutton, ewe, ram, and even goat. Can you help me understand all these differences?
Of course, Mia. It's great that you're curious about this. English does have quite a few words for these animals, and each one has a specific meaning. Let's go through them step by step.
Yes, please. I want to know all about them. Let's start with sheep, since that's what confused me the most.
Good place to start. The word sheep is a general term that refers to the animal as a whole. It can mean a single sheep or a group of them, regardless of their age or gender.
So, sheep is like saying people for humans?
Exactly. It's a broad term. Now, lamb is more specific. It refers to a baby sheep, usually one that is less than a year old.
Oh, so like how we call a baby dog a puppy?
Exactly right. And when we talk about mutton, we're referring to the meat of an adult sheep. It's the term used for the flesh of sheep that is older, usually over a year old.
So, when people eat mutton, they're eating older sheep. Is there a different name for the meat of a young sheep?
Yes, there is. The meat of a young sheep, usually under a year old, is called lamb as well. It's known for being more tender and having a milder flavor compared to mutton.
I see. So, lamb can mean both the young animal and its meat, but mutton only means the meat of an older sheep?
That's exactly right, Mia. Now let's talk about ewe and ram. These terms specify the gender of the sheep. A ewe is a female sheep, while a ram is a male sheep.
Okay, so if I see a sheep and someone calls it a ram, I know it's a male. But if they say ewe, it's a female?
Exactly. You're getting the hang of it. Now let's move on to goats, since you mentioned them too.
Yes, I was wondering about goats. Are there different words for goats like there are for sheep?
Absolutely. The word goat is the general term, just like sheep is for sheep. It refers to the animal regardless of age or gender. But just like sheep, goats have specific terms for their different genders and ages.
Really? What are those words?
A male goat is called a buck or sometimes a billy goat, and a female goat is called a doe or a nanny goat. A baby goat is called a kid.
Oh, I've heard the word kid before, but I didn't realize it was for a baby goat. That's funny because we also use kid to mean a child.
It is interesting, isn't it? The English language loves to recycle words. And just like with sheep, we have a specific term for the meat of a goat, which is called chevon, or sometimes goat meat.
I didn't know that. So chevon is like mutton for sheep and beef for cows?
Exactly. Chevon is the meat from an adult goat. There's also another term, cabrito, which refers to the meat of a young goat, similar to how we use lamb for young sheep.
Wow, there are so many different terms. Why does English have all these specific words for these animals?
That's a great question, Mia. The English language has evolved over centuries and has borrowed words from many different languages and cultures. For instance, sheep and lamb come from Old English, while mutton comes from Old French, which itself was influenced by Latin. The Normans, who spoke Old French, brought many of these words to England after they conquered it in 1066.
So it's because of history that we have all these different words?
Exactly. History plays a big role in language development. The Normans had a significant influence on English, especially in terms of vocabulary. That's why we have different names for animals and the meats that come from them. For example, we call the animal cow, but the meat is beef. Similarly, pig is the animal and pork is the meat.
That's so interesting. I never realized there was so much history behind words. Does this happen in other languages too?
Yes, it does. Many languages have specific terms based on cultural importance or historical context. For example, in Spanish, there are different words for various types of beans because beans are an important part of the diet. Similarly, in Arabic, there are many words for different types of camels, reflecting their importance in the desert regions.
Wow, I never thought about language like that before. It's like every word has its own little story.
That's a beautiful way to put it, Mia. Words are indeed like little stories, carrying bits of history, culture, and the daily lives of the people who use them.
I'm really enjoying learning all of this. It makes me think about words differently now. Like, they're not just sounds we make, but have meaning and history.
I'm glad to hear that. Understanding the background of words can make learning a language much more interesting and meaningful. It shows us how people lived, what they valued, and how they interacted with their environment.
Yeah, like how sheep and goats have so many different words because they were important animals to people in the past.
Exactly. Sheep and goats have been important to many cultures for thousands of years, providing meat, milk, wool, and hides. So it makes sense that there would be many words related to them in English and other languages.
This makes me wonder, are there any other animals that have as many different words as sheep and goats?
Oh, definitely. For example, in English we have many different words for horses too. A baby horse is called a foal. A young female horse is a filly. A young male horse is a colt. A mature female horse is a mare. And a mature male horse that can reproduce is a stallion. If a male horse is castrated, it's called a gelding.
That's so many words just for horses. Why do we need so many?
Horses were once a crucial part of human life for transportation, farming, and warfare. Different terms helped people specify exactly what they were talking about, which was important in daily life and commerce. This specificity has carried on, even though we don't rely on horses in the same way today.
That makes sense. I guess it's like how we have different words for all the parts of a computer now because they're so important to us.
Exactly, Mia. Language evolves with technology and culture. Just as we developed words for different parts of a horse or sheep based on their importance, we do the same for modern things like computers, phones, and other technology.
I'm going to pay more attention to words now. It's like they're little clues to what people cared about in the past.
That's a wonderful perspective, Mia. Words are indeed clues to the past, and by studying them, we can learn a lot about history and human nature.
Thanks for explaining all of this, Dad. It was really interesting, and I feel like I learned a lot.
You're welcome, Mia. I'm always here to help you explore new ideas and learn new things. Remember, being curious and asking questions is the best way to learn.
I'll keep that in mind. Can we talk about more words and their histories another time?
Absolutely, anytime you want. There's always something new to discover with words.
Great! I can't wait for our next word adventure.
Me too, Mia. Now, how about we have some ice cream and celebrate our little English lesson?
Yes, that sounds perfect.